What? I froze in my tracks when I heard that. My mom came to see me. But why didn't she just say so? Master came over to me when he saw me look pale and asked, "What did she tell you?" I told him everything about the confrontation. He laughed coldly. Then he looked out the window and shouted, "People have their own ways, and demons have their own ways. If you really want to do him good, don't come here again." I followed my master's gaze and looked out. It was as if there were eyes watching me in the darkness. But after that, there were no more rabbits in front of my house. I thought my mom would never come to see me again. But a few days later, something strange happened in the village. Several villagers who hunted in the mountains died strangely. And the deaths were identical. They looked like they'd been bitten to death by some wild animal. And their internal organs were all hollowed out. At this, the master murmured with a gloomy face, "What a cruel heart." After that, he picked up the funeral stuff and left. Before he left, he told me not to go anywhere. He told me to tell her if she came back, she'll be punished for what she's done sooner or later. My heart thumped when I heard that. Master means my mom killed someone. But why would she do that? I thought about it all afternoon, but I couldn't figure it out. When Master came home at night, he looked very pale. He asked me with a gloomy face, "Did that bastard come here today?" When I heard Master talk about my mom like that, I felt bitter in my heart, but I didn't have the strength to refute it. I could only shake my head with red eyes. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Master continued, "Prepare yourself well tonight. Come with me to the mountain in the Mo." Earning to the mountain. Why do you want to go to the mountain? I felt that Master's tone was not right. I even felt a coldness. Why? To kill someone to pay for their life? Just a few words struck me like a thunderbolt. Is Master going up the mountain to kill Wolf Mother? But that's the mother who gave birth to me. I couldn't just sit back and do nothing. So that night, when Master was asleep, I ran to the back of the mountain alone. I had to tell my mom in advance so she could be prepared. But when I passed the mass grave outside the village, I only heard a rustling sound of digging. I followed the sound. I saw an old woman lying on her back in front of a grave. She was digging with her dry hands. I picked up the flashlight and took a closer look. Wasn't this Uncle Zhang, who was buried a few days ago? Although she had hurt my mom before. But after all, she's from the same village, not to mention that the dead are the most important. I can't just stand by and watch someone create his grave. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but ask boldly, "Granny, what are you digging at night?" But the other party did not even hedge. She just said to herself, "I am hungry." She came out to get something to eat. When I heard that, my legs shivered. This is Uncle Zhang's grave. What can there be to eat inside the grave? I held back my trembling body. I took out a small bread from my backpack and handed it over. "Granny, why don't you eat this? It's delicious." "What's so good about it? Get it away from me." The old woman waved her hand impatiently. She went back to digging. I stood still and didn't know what to do. Uncle Zhang and I are at least from the same village. I couldn't stand by and watch others digging up his property. I gritted my teeth and continued, "Granny, don't call me Gran. NY. If you do, call me Mrs. Liu." The old woman suddenly picked up her head. He just stared at me straight in the face. There was a cold, sinister look in his eyes. It made me feel uncomfortable. I instinctively took a step back. A moment later, the old woman suddenly laughed for no apparent reason. The sound of her laughter made my body shiver. My legs were shaking even more. "Not bad, not bad. The son of the gray girl, aren't you? He's grown up so much." I was shocked. The grey lady she mentioned is my wolf mother. So the old woman is also a monster. And she said her name was Leo. Could she be? While I was still in shock, Mrs. Leo suddenly waved at me. Come here, kid. Tell me how much time I have left to live. My face was white with fear. I didn't have the energy to tell my fortune. Besides, I can't tell the life of a monster. If I make a mistake, I won't be able to live. Mrs. Leo seemed to recognize my concern. Her face softened and she said to me, Go ahead, kid. I won't give you a hard time, for the sake of the grey lady. I breathed a sigh of relief. If that's the case, I'll do as I am told. I began to take a closer look at Mrs. L's face. There were many wrinkles on her face. All her features were deformed. I can only judge her by her aura. First of all, her roots are thick, and her forehead is full. That's a sign of longevity, in the eyes of our physiognomist. But her cheekbones are too high and her face is sharp. And she has no eyebrows. This is the face of a dying person. But shares a spirit and can't be compared to normal people. I thought about it and said carefully, You shall. Have about 10 years to live. At that, Mrs. Leo was silent for a moment, then she sighed and said it's more or less the same as my own estimation. After that, she slowly walked towards the distance. Before she left a message. I'll come back in a month to settle the score with you. I hope you give me hope. I don't know what she meant by hope. I don't have time to think about it. What's more important now is that I must hurry up to the mountain. Tell my mom that my master is going to arrest her tomorrow. In the middle of the night, I finally reached the tree where my mom was injured last time. I shouted at the surrounding area. Mom, I am here to see you. Can you come out to see me? But there was no response to my shouts. I was anxious and shouted, Mom, my master is coming to arrest you if you hear me. Hide immediately. I shouted for a long time from the nearby mountains, but until my voice was mute. There was still no response. I don't know why my mom refused tea. Oh, see me, but it was already dawn. I had to go back quickly in the daytime, or go to the mountain with my master. I might be able to save her life. Thinking of this, I ran to my home. When I got home, the door to master's room was still open. I hurriedly changed my clothes and made some breakfast. After dinner, I asked master in a low voice, If you catch my mom, can you spare her once? Spare her? Master sneered. Then who will pay for the lives of the people in the village? Master asked me. People who kill have to pay for their lives, but animals don't have to pay for killing. I was speechless, but I knew in my heart I wouldn't let my mom die no matter what. If master really wants to kill my mom, I'll try my best to stop him. After packing up, master and I were about to leave the house. A black car suddenly stopped at the door. A man in a suit came down from the car. He came to master with a pleasing look on his face. Master Lee, we agreed to come here today. Can you tell my fortune for me? When I heard this, I looked at the man curiously. First of all, there's a red spot on his brow at the Shaoyan. In the eyes of our fortune tellers, it's a bad spot. It shouldn't be a problem. But unfortunately, his nose is unusually large and hooked. The left and right sides of his face are asymmetrical. With the round points, it's a clear sign of evil. And his life palace is dark. Obviously he's been in trouble lately. And it's probably related to a murder case. That's why he came to master for help. Master took one look at him and waved his hand. He's not a Vaila. Well, today you can come back next Monday. At that the man's body shivered, and said hastily, Master Lee, I made an appointment last week. Besides, my company's business is really urgent. Wouldn't you take the time to help me today? Show me the way. If it's really the company's business, I'll do the math for you right now. The master looked at him and laughed coldly. The man was immediately embarrassed. He gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, I'll be here next Monday." After saying this, the man quickly drove away. After he left, master suddenly turned to me and asked, "What do you think of this man, Zeroshin?" I didn't hesitate. I told him what I had just analyzed. Master nodded and continued, "When he comes back next time, you can do the math for him." I froze for a moment when I heard that. What? I'll do it. He's involved in a murder case, Master. Wouldn't it be safer if you did it? But Master said calmly, "Maybe I won't be able to come back on Monday." What do you mean you can't come back? I am a bit confused. Could it be that Master has foreseen something? Master didn't explain much. He just waved his hand and told me to get ready to go up the mountain. About half an hour later, we arrived at the foot of the mountain. But Master didn't rush up the mountain. Instead, he took out a few coins and laid them on the ground. Then he lit sticks of incense and inserted them into the holes. Having followed Master for so long, I knew what he was doing. He was asking the mountain god